Restricted the movement of reporters in that country. The black townships, the worst of apartheid, are virtually off limits. But we know of a place where there's apartheid there for all Americans to see. The African townships of South Africa look like this. The net result of apartheid is houses held together barely by a prayer, where a woman can scratch a little sustenance from a patch of rough land, where there is absolute separation of races from absolutely the earliest age, where the same God is publicly worshipped on the same Sabbath, but never together. Not a black face in the white church, and in the black church, but one white face. This is not South Africa. This is Tunica, Mississippi, a sun-dappled plantation county where, in the worst possible way, time stood still.
There is nothing in Tunica that is integrated, nothing.
Alvin Chambliss is a Mississippi civil rights lawyer who spends a lot of time in Tunica.
What you have in the town of Tunica is pretty much an apartheid kind of segregated system that has been in place for at least 100 and some odd years.
Tunica may be proof that you can have apartheid without pass laws or barbed wire. It is as if there was no Little Rock, there was no Selma. That history is blank here. Marilyn Ferre, a Washington attorney, found two Americas in Tunica.
I found a town which looks, from all appearances from Main Street, like any small town in America. However, if you walk one block in one particular direction, you find a totally different environment. You find basically total squalor. Find a population or community, unfortunately predominantly consisting of black people who live in conditions that I thought that did not exist still in America. In fact, an infant born in Tunica in 1985 is more likely to die before their first birthday than is a child born in Jamaica, West Indies, which we commonly think of as a developing country.
She is talking about a part of town called Sugar Ditch Alley, not tucked away out of sight, out of mind, but smack behind the First Baptist Church, the white symbol of civic and religious pride in Tunica.
Well, everybody hollering about sugar ditch. There's no sugar in that ditch. You need sugar, I can give you a cup of sugar. That's what you really call is shit ditch. That's a shit ditch. Now, it might sound real funny with what I'm saying, but that's really what it is. Everybody wastes materials right out there in that ditch.
Sugar Ditch is an open sewer. Jarlene Simmons and her 9 children are among the dozens of families living on its banks. These houses are owned by white landlords. The rents are minimal, the services less than minimal. Some have no toilets. What plumbing there is less than primitive.
This is the kitchen. As you can see, old unset papers on the wall, which you can hear. I can imagine. All those roaches I have a problem with them. I can't even get rid of them. Roaches everywhere you can see.
Sugar Ditch is infested with vermin of every description. Tunica did get $1.25 million in federal revenue sharing funds for water and sewage lines, but many of the houses in Sugar Ditch were not hooked up. But the town still charged the residents for the services they never received.
First time that this came to my attention was in July of 1984.
Richard Sands, a local hardware merchant, was mayor at the time.
I asked them to get me a list of people who did not have sewer facilities in their homes, running water in their homes. They brought me a partial list of people, and they said that the other people didn't want to put their names on the list because they were afraid that they would get evicted, that they could not afford to pay any more than they were paying for rent.
Tunica is the poorest county in the poorest state in the United States, dead last. Of the 7,000 blacks, most live well below the poverty line. Of the 2,500 whites, most live very comfortable, classically middle-class lives. There are 36 white millionaires. White money comes from agriculture, so does black poverty. Tunica lies at the tip of the Mississippi Delta, some of the finest farmland in the country. Cotton remains king here, but he is a new high-tech king who no longer needs man's sweat. People are abandoned like the old cotton gins. New cotton pickers like this one will do in a day the work that used to be done by 250 farmhands. 70% of Tunica County citizens are on welfare. Tunica does not even pay lip service to post-segregation America. These people live in what is still officially called the Tunica Colored Subdivision. Sounds just like South Africa. The few farmhands still employed live and work on what are still called plantations. What is the relationship between the plantation worker and the plantation owner?
Master servant, you have the tractor drivers who work from sunup to 10, 11 o'clock because you have lights on the tractor. Now, during the months of December through March, they don't work. So the boss give them $150 a month. They give them a check. And of course, they have to pay to stay on the land, utilities. I mean, nothing is free now. So that they're always in debt. Indentured servants, in a sense.
Indentured to the company.
Yes, absolutely.
You think the blacks there are intimidated?
Oh, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. You go in and if you go in, for an example, unless they really know you, they're not gonna they won't even tell you their names. They won't tell you where they live. It's like 50 years ago, and white has meant a bad thing to them. It's just like the law. I mean, the law means different things to different people. And to a black in Tunica County, the law means oppression. We can't get the court to address having voting booths in cotton gins. That's criminal to me. That's far. Yet the court will not address that.
The people have to vote?
On private property, some of the bowling precincts are in cotton gin. On plantations, yes.
With the boss nearby?
Yes. But of course, they're going to vote the way the boss tell them to. Matter of fact, the boss, in many instances, vote them. Literally assist them in the marking of their ballot.
Tunica may be rural, it is not backward. In 1983, the town sought and got a $500,000 HUD grant to beautify the downtown white-owned business district. That was matched by another $500,000 in private money, but not a penny spent a few paces away in the pernicious squalor of Sugar Ditch. Mr. Sands says the town applied for a federal grant to help Sugar Ditch, but was turned down. But Tunica sought and got almost $600,000 for, of all things, an airport.
My thinking on the airport is the fact that we're trying to draw industry or something into Tunica, Mississippi. You've got to have an airport for people to fly their planes in.
If it hasn't exactly produced a lot of industry, has it?
No, sir, it has not.
The airport was built while Sugar Ditch festered, a public convenience for white plane owners, and that included ex-Mayor Sands. Memphis International is only a 40-minute drive away. Mr. Sands feels the blacks have not been neglected.
The county spent $80,000 to build a metal building up here for the black citizens to have a meeting, and that's used maybe once or twice a month at the most.
The fact is that the center is used more than once or twice a month, used for all kinds of things. And the fact that it was designated as a black building only served to perpetuate segregation.
We got a $275,000 swimming pool up here that primarily the blacks used. That's $275,000 plus another $80,000. That's $350,000 that's in a swimming pool and in a community building. That could have been used in Sugar Ditch, but it wasn't, because that's not what they wanted.
It is them and us in Tunica. So that a public swimming pool is in fact a black swimming pool.
Well, correct. I mean, for all practical purposes, it is.
I think America really doesn't want to face up to what is happening in America, and they focus in on sanctions against South Africa. But in Tunica, for an example, you have two school systems, one all white, one all black.
Almost without exception, white children go to the Tunica Institute of Learning, a small private school that was founded in response to desegregation. The public schools in Tunica County, both grade school and high school, are almost without exception for blacks. They are run by the white county school superintendent, Bobby Papasan.
There are those who say that de facto apartheid exists in this town. How do you respond?
I'm not aware of its existence.
The school system here is virtually all black.
That's correct.
Perhaps that's what people mean by apartheid in education.
Segregation was a matter of custom, a matter of tradition, long before it became a matter of law. There's more integration in education than there is in other forms of life in Tunica.
But you yourself send your children to the all-white private school, while you, as the supervisor of education of this county, are talking about better schools for everybody, integrated schools. Bother your conscience?
I am not proud that they attended that institute, but under the circumstances, I felt that it was best for the total education of the community.
What would have happened had you got up and said to the parents there, listen, we're making a mistake sending our kids to private school. Well, let's put them into the public education system.
Maybe I'd have been run out of town. You know, I don't
Mr.
know.
Papasan says the prevailing attitude among the whites in Tunica is benevolence. We talked to a few of the people who can fairly be described as part of the white establishment. An alderman, a school teacher, the pharmacist, and the current mayor.
How could a town not know that there's a whole row of houses that don't have running water or inside plumbing, or sewage?
The water and sewer was available. If the water and sewer was available there in the streets. So the town just took for granted that if it was available, it would naturally be tied into.
But what I find hard to understand, why the churches, the white churches, didn't move in and say, let's do something about Sugar Ditch Alley.
There are colored churches also, and nothing was ever mentioned toward them. Nothing was ever brought to the attention of the town officials that I know of. And I don't know whether if any case where the people who lived down there ever complained in not having sewer.
I think we took it for granted that they had bathrooms.
Doesn't what you say give a certain kind of support to the argument that a lot of people down there say that this is apartheid, not legislated apartheid, but in fact apartheid? Two separate cities in this city, a black township and a white town.
It's evidently the prerogative of the person living in houses to dictate their own pride and responsibility. If they don't take the initiative to do so, it's not my responsibility to go down there and wet nurse them.
It's true that we have segregation, but that doesn't mean that we're standing like this, just anti each other. I work with the black public schools, and I enjoy my work, and I have good friends on the faculty.
I dare so, but 20 years ago there was a dream that a lot of people thought had come true when such a thing as a black public school wouldn't exist anymore.
That's true.
And
but it does.
It's only been 20 years that desegregation has been legislated or mandated by the courts. So I think if you look at it in that perspective, that we've made strides in the last 20 or 30 years that are hard to put your finger on, but they're here.
What we have done, in essence, since time immemorial, has been to throw many people away. Many of the throwaways are right here on Sugar Ditch Alley.
There's an interesting relationship that exists in the South between the races. One of trust. Truth is that I suspect you could find a lady who lived in one of the shacks on Sugar Ditch who goes back to that more affluent part of town you speak of to take care of that household and that family's children.
Probably so. But then she returns to another world in the evening.
The world of the Tunica colored subdivision or Sugar Ditch Alley. There's very little trust to be found down here. There is suspicion and the residue of benign neglect, though it's hard to find anything very benign about this place. The whites who run things in Tunica are more blind than they are brutal. They are not Afrikaners. They are Americans who choose not to wonder about what goes on right in their own backyard.